Inside the Combat Information Center of an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, the radar return registers as the size of a golf ball. It is a hostile threat, traveling at 115 miles per hour, hugging the waves just above the Persian Gulf. Within mere seconds, the immediate threat scales exponentially. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps launches 40 Russian-supplied Geran-2 and Shahed-136 loitering munitions in a highly compressed 3-minute window. The IRGC employs a saturation attack strategy. They generate so many simultaneous incoming tracks that the ship's radar processors struggle to effectively sort or prioritize the threats. But exactly 114 seconds after the initial radar lock, the engagement concludes. All 40 incoming targets are destroyed, resulting in 0 U.S. Navy casualties. Neutralizing a saturation attack of this density relies on the clinical execution of automated data processing sequences. There is a mathematical trap hidden inside this swarm. An imported fiberglass Geran-2 drone cost roughly $30,000 to manufacture. Meanwhile, a standard U.S. Navy interceptor, like the SM-2 missile, costs upwards of $2.1 million. This ledger shows the core vulnerability of a purely kinetic defense. Every time you trade a premium guided missile for a cheap airframe, the cost disparity compounds. The adversary is attempting a war of attrition. They want to force an exchange rate that exhausts the defender's budget long before the swarm runs out of cheap explosives. The U.S. Navy addresses this economic vulnerability through an integrated architecture known as the kill web. The network calculates return on investment as rigorously as it calculates intercept geometry. It survives by assigning tiered countermeasures precisely matched to the distance and capability of each incoming target. The defense sequence begins before a single drone engine is ignited. Space-based assets, like the SBIRS satellite constellation, monitor the thermal signatures of Russian heavy-lift transports, tracking crates of modular drone components directly into Iranian airspace. Airborne sensors from regional F-35C Lightning IIs feed into this regional tactical picture, allowing the fleet to build a predictive digital profile of the hidden launch sites along the coast. When the 40 drones finally clear the coastal dunes, the first layer of defense is completely silent. The ship activates its Surface Electronic Warfare Improvement Program, or CIWS. The ship floods the airspace with high-gain digital noise, targeting satellite receivers inside the incoming airframes. Cut off from navigation, internal gyroscopes drift. The drones lose direction, banking violently into the sea or colliding in midair. 12 drones are instantly removed from the swarm without a single shot being fired. By deploying electronic denial at the outermost perimeter, the network preserves its highly expensive kinetic inventory for targets capable of breaking through the noise. 28 tracks remain. As they cross the 30-mile threshold from the carrier strike group, the engagement logic shifts from electronic to physical. The Aegis combat system selects the medium-range solution, the RIM-162 Evolved Sea Sparrow missile. Leaving the vertical launch cells, these interceptors accelerate to Mach 4, over 3,000 miles per hour, in a matter of seconds. These interceptors utilize a blast fragmentation warhead, removing the need for a direct physical collision between the two objects. It is engineered to detonate in the immediate vicinity of the threat, releasing a dense, high-velocity cloud of shrapnel that covers a wide volume of airspace to maximize hit probability. A single detonation pulverizes tight formations of multiple drones. In the first 12 seconds of this kinetic sequence, 8 more airframes are erased from the radar glass. Neutralizing multiple targets with a single medium-range interceptor tightly controls the expenditure rate, keeping the fleet's return on investment mathematically viable. The surviving 20 drones push into the 10-mile mark, closing the distance at 170 feet per second. The network assigns the next tier of defense, the 5-inch Mark 45 naval gun. Loaded with hypervelocity projectiles, traveling at 5,600 miles per hour, each unguided shell costs a tiny fraction of a guided missile. Because the shells lack internal guidance, the ship's fire control radar assumes the computational load. It calculates the specific intercept geometry, directing a continuous wall of lead straight into the incoming flight paths. The sheer kinetic force of the shrapnel shreds the fiberglass wings and punctures the small 2-stroke engines of the targets. 5 more drones plummet into the waves, their ruptured fuel tanks trailing fire. 15 targets remain. This automated artillery barrage bridges the operational gap between expensive, long-range missiles and the final point defense, keeping the economic advantage securely on the Navy side. The remaining targets cross into the deep defense zone, within 3 miles of the strike group. The Phalanx close-in weapon system wakes up. Its integrated white radar dome autonomously tracks the closest threats, calculating firing solutions with terrifying precision. The 6-barrel 20mm Gatling gun spins up, unleashing a continuous stream of ammunition at a rate of 4,500 rounds per minute. At 1,000 yards out, the density of fire simply erases the incoming threats. Struck by dozens of rounds in a fraction of a second, the drones turn into localized clouds of dust and burning gasoline. When a single drone slips through a gap in the stream, closing to within 500 yards, the final safeguard triggers. A rolling airframe missile, utilizing an infrared seeker to scan for friction heat, leaves the aft deck rail and detonates the airframe instantly. The 114-second sequence concludes. It transitioned from wide-area electronic denial down to medium-range fragmentation, and finally to brute force mechanical finality. 40 targets, 0 penetrations. Integrated doctrine dictates that a successful defense serves as the prerequisite for an immediate counterstrike. While the swarm was actively being dismantled, the coordinates of the coastal launch rails were piped via the sensor-to-shooter link directly to FA-18E Super Hornets orbiting at 30,000 feet. The pilot confirms the ship-provided coordinates and releases the AGM-154 JSOW, a GPS-guided glide bomb. The 500-pound weapon deploys its wings, initiating a silent glide along a pre-programmed path carefully woven around known ground-based radar sites. Arriving without acoustic warning, the warhead detonates squarely in the center of the staging area. The launch rails, the localized manufacturing equipment, and the unlaunched drone inventory are vaporized in a single strike. The kill web leverages the data harvested during the intercept to locate the threat's origin, severing the localized logistics chain in minutes. The Russian-supplied drones failed because they operated as isolated, analog hardware trying to penetrate a fortress of interdependent real-time data. The strategic gamble failed on the ledger, too. Months of logistical effort and millions of dollars in hardware were neutralized by a fractional expenditure of tiered defenses. Modern naval superiority depends on superior algorithmic logic and sequence management, as raw firepower alone cannot solve the saturation problem. Maintaining this high cost-to-kill ratio allows the fleet to remain on station indefinitely. This logistical sustainability enables the U.S. Navy to deter the disruption of global shipping routes. We spend billions of dollars building and refining these integrated networks. Do you think that investment is justified by the precise economic security it provides? Let us know your perspective in the comments below.